is the Washington Capitals. Now, in 2022, it was their 49th season in the NHL as a franchise. They were established on June 11th, 1974. The Capitals missed the playoffs for the first time since the 2013-14 season and only the second time since 2006-07, ending their 8-season playoff streak, being eliminated from contention on April 4th, 2023, after the Florida Panthers defeated the Sabres 2-1. Now, in the division, the Capitals finished 6th and 13th in the Eastern Conference. The record from last season was 35-37-10. Home record was 18-16-7. Road record 17-21-3. Goals for 225. Goals against 265. GM is Brian McClellan. Head coach is Peter Laviolette. Captain, Alexander Ovechkin. Alternative captains were Nicholas Backstrom and John Carlson, and they play at Capital One Arena. Team leaders, Alex Ovechkin with 42 goals. Evgeny Kuznetsov with 43 assists. Ovechkin with 75 points. Penalty minutes, Tom Wilson with 78. Plus minus goes to Trevor Van Riemsdyk with plus 10. Goalies, domination by Darcy Kemper with 22 wins and 2.87 goals against average. Basically say average 3 goals against. Here we go again. Capitals. 5-4-1 in October, 5-7-2 in November. That's where that little slip happened. You didn't need that. Needed a couple more wins in November for sure. 11-2-2 in December. January 6-7-1. February 2-7. March 5-6-3, which didn't help. But your April, it didn't help the most at 1-4-1. Ovechkin played in only 73 games. 42 goals, 33 assists for 75 points. Plus and minus was minus 16. His PIM was 48. He definitely, even though he didn't play 82 games, stands out as one of the top guys on the Capitals, which why wouldn't he? He is the face of the franchise, just like Nash and Crosby are for their respective franchises. That being said, I think there's a lot here for the Capitals to build off of. They have a lot more building room than, say, the Penguins or the other teams that we talked about that did make the playoffs. With that being said, what are your thoughts on the Washington Capitals heading into 2023 to 24?
It feels like we're seeing a transition phase in Washington. So they're shifting focus from competing for Stanley Cups to ensuring about Alex Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's goals record. So to check where we last left off last season, Ovechkin's standing is second place, only behind Gretzky. Ovechkin is 822 goals scored in his career. He needs 73 more to pass Gretzky's record of 894. At the same time, Washington wants to remain competitive to keep Ovechkin and the veterans there happy. So, because veterans on rebuilding teams, not the most ideal thing, especially when those veterans are some of the better ones on your team. Nicholas Backstrom had hip resurfacing surgery on his left hip, an issue that was plaguing him for the last few years. And he's looking to get back to 100%, which I think he will be. So even though the Stanley Cup contention window is officially closed, it closed that window having won one cup in 2018. It was a long-awaited one, given how many years Ovechkin and Backstrom have been in the league together. So, though the big shock with Washington is that Evgeny Kuznetsov was not traded away this offseason. His name was appearing all over the rumor mill constantly, and it only intensified after he had a down year by his standards, 55 points in 81 games, which was 23 less than what he had in 2022. And to mention, Peter Laviolette, he's now with the Rangers as their head coach. The new head coach is Spencer Carberry, who was previously an assistant coach with the Toronto Maple Leafs under Sheldon Keefe. So that may be emphasizing on maturity of the young players that they're trying to emphasize here, like Sonny Milano, Alexei Protas, Martin Fehervary, Joe Snively, Connor McMichael. So, and we get to their additions here with Washington. This looks to be a middle-of-the-pack team that we don't know what to expect from them if they're going to compete in the playoffs. Though Max Pacioretty is a low-risk signing, though it can be of high reward considering that they're hoping that he fully recovers from a second straight Achilles tear in as many years. Oof. He played just 5 games last year with the Carolina Hurricanes. They'll get a full year of Rasmus Sandin, an offensive defenseman who was acquired at the deadline after he had trouble finding his potential with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then you get Joel Edmondson, a defensive defenseman who brings in Stanley Cup winning experience, having previously won a cup with the St. Louis Blues and went to another final with the Montreal Canadiens. He'll be on the bottom pair of Trevor Van Riemsdyk, so that can certainly help. And last of all, Tom Wilson, who got a 7-year extension, who can likely compete for the captaincy once Ovechkin retires. So with the 7-year extension, it'll keep him until he is 37. He'll be under contract until 2031. Not only is he one of the more physical forwards on the team, but he has the offensive prowess that he brings with him. He has found a home with Ovechkin on the top line, and that certainly helps him on the long term. So he'll be a key figure to Washington's offense in the many years to come. Once again, we don't know what to expect from them because they're not good enough to compete for a cup, but not bad enough to get a high draft pick. But there's one thing that's for certain: the goal tracker for Ovechkin. That'll be continuing to count. That'll be on and counting here as the seasons go by. So it will take it about 2 years until he breaks the record at the minimum.
Yeah. I think you're right. They're basically trying to bubble wrap Ovechkin, keep him healthy, keep him wanting to, be here in DC and play for the Capitals. I do think he'll be someone that plays his full career with the Capitals and retires as a Cap. Everybody knows for a fact that the Capitals were on the top of the mountain when they won the Cup a few years back. I discredit it just a little bit because you beat an expansion team, but hey, the expansion team was good enough to make it there in the first year, let alone win it all a few years later. So that's why it's just a little bit, because it was an expansion team's first year. But I mean, if they win it like 2-3 years later, that tells you that expansion team was actually good. So
yeah, it's basically a championship. It's a championship. It's a championship every time, no matter how you look at it. Even if it was an expansion team, still a professional hockey team. And that expansion team, as we'll talk about later, they have redefined what it means to be an expansion team. Though Washington, they've certainly enjoyed their many years of contention, and for the many fans up there in DC, don't take it for granted. Enjoy what you have now, because
absolutely,
you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, we ran a little bit over, and it's just because I wanted us to be able to get every little detail we can in. We do have more news to get to. We will have to come on later this week. We'll figure that out, and because we'll definitely get those out because I know you wanted to. So don't forget, everyone, comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. Subscribe to Buckeye Mike. Subscribe to Shady Sports Network because they're awesome over there. They're pushing to almost 900 subs over there. We just passed 150. Let's push to 200. And we'll see you on the next one. Everyone have a good night.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.